the 2022 New York Mets were on top of the world.
And Alonso cracks one, and the Mets win the ball game! Out of sight! And Lindor lines it into center field. Base hit, and the Mets win the ball game! Brandon Nimmo crashes one down the right field line just inside the foul pole for a 2-run homer.
Until they weren't. So what really happened? Being a Mets fan is not easy given the constant ups and downs with the franchise. With Steve Cohen purchasing the Mets just 4 years ago, many fans thought things would finally start to turn around, especially after winning 101 games in 2022. The New York Mets played some outstanding baseball in 2022, having career years for many of their star players. Francisco Lindor beat the washed allegations, batting .270 with 26 home runs and a career-high 107 RBIs also. The Mets were also able to get a batting title out of Jeff McNeil as he batted .326 on the year. Other than the stars, the Mets role players also played a key role in the success of the team. Despite Jacob deGrom being sidelined for most of the year, Max Scherzer and the rest of the pitching staff were able to hold down the fort all season for a team ERA of .358. Edwin Diaz also had an amazing 1.31 ERA with 32 saves, becoming a viral sensation with his electric walkout song. It was looking like the New York Mets could finally get the job done and bring a championship back to Queens. Until the last week of the season. The Mets traveled to Atlanta to play one final series against the Braves. Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom, and Chris Bassitt were all lined up to pitch, only needing one win to secure the NL East hopes. After leading the division for 176 days, the Mets were swept by the Braves, making them a wild card team.
Magic number down to 1. Acuna going back. Acuna is there. He's got it! And the Braves have swept the Mets and dealt them a devastating defeat. You come at the Kings, you better not miss.
The Mets faced the San Diego Padres in the wild card series. deGrom, Scherzer, and Bassitt were lined up again in hopes to advance the Mets to the NLDS to face the Dodgers. Max Scherzer took the mound for Game 1 and was completely shelled by the Padres.
Career postseason game.
That one is laced deep to left field, and this one may get out of here. It does! Bell on a 3-1 pitch.
Second inning.
This ball to right, going back is Marte, still going back, it's carrying, and it carries over the wall!
Switch hitter, left-handed, swings to the first pitch, hits a missile out towards the right field corner. Marte goes back, looks up, it's a home run! Manny Machado.
Machado trying to add on, laces this to left, will it stay high enough? It does! Another home run by the Padres!
Scherzer gave up 7 runs in 4 2/3 innings for the first time in his 27 postseason appearances. Jacob deGrom was on the bump for Game 2, which would eventually become his last ever appearance as a New York Met. deGrom did what he did best in Game 2, giving up only 2 earned runs in 6 innings while striking out 8 batters, resulting in a New York Mets win. Unfortunately though, the Mets could not pull it off in Game 3 at Citi Field with Chris Bassitt on the mound. Joe Musgrove pitched a complete gem against them to the point where he was accused of using sticky stuff. For much of the game, Musgrove's ear appeared to be oddly shiny, causing Buck Showalter to request the umpires to check it out. The umpires found nothing, and the New York Mets were inevitably mocked as their promising season brutally came to a screeching halt.
He's really a one-inning guy, and that's when he's most effective.
Grounded slowly to third, Manny charges his. Now plays the hop, throw to first is in time! And the Padres have not only captured the moment, they have captured the wild card series, and it's on to Los Angeles for Game 1 of the NLDS Tuesday night at Dodger Stadium.
Despite having such a heartbreaking end to such a successful season, the Mets' hopes were still high, as most of their young core would still be under contract for the 2023 MLB season. Key pieces such as Jacob deGrom, Brandon Nimmo, and Edwin Diaz were all free agents, however, leaving many fans anxious throughout the offseason. And then unfortunately for the New York Mets, on December 2nd, 2022, two-time Cy Young winner and homegrown New York Met Jacob deGrom officially signs with the Texas Rangers for 5 years, $185 million, ending his 9-year Mets career. Many fans were outraged with this signing, leaving many to question whether Steve Cohen truly cared about the success of the team. This did not last long as the Mets bounced back, signing reigning AL Cy Young Award winner Justin Verlander to a 2-year deal. Verlander and Scherzer would headline the Mets' 2023 starting rotation, reuniting the former Detroit Tigers duo. The Mets were also able to sign Japanese pitcher Kodai Senga to join their stacked rotation. Senga had a 2.59 career ERA and was a 5-time Japanese Series champion in the MVP. Mets GM Billy Epler went on to re-sign Brandon Nimmo to an 8-year deal, as well as give Edwin Diaz a record-breaking 5-year, $102 million contract, the largest contract for a relief pitcher in Major League history. December 21st, 2022 was a day that many Mets fans will never forget. At 2:38 in the morning, John Heyman reported the New York Mets and superstar infielder Carlos Correa were in agreement on a 12-year, $315 million contract. Adding Correa to the Mets lineup would make them even more of an offensive juggernaut in 2023. But unfortunately, Correa also failed his physical with the Mets, as they used the same doctor as the Giants, who believed a previous leg surgery would become an issue for him later in his career. After attempting to renegotiate a contract for 3 weeks, Correa eventually went on to sign with the Minnesota Twins, agreeing to a 6-year, $200 million deal. Mets fans were left stunned by the turn of events, although Steve Cohen assured them that the team would be fine, as Carlos Correa was more of a luxury rather than a necessity due to the success of the 2022 Mets offense. Some notable losses for the Mets that offseason were Jacob deGrom, Chris Bassett, Michael Givens, Seth Lugo, Trevor May, Tajon Walker, Trevor Williams, and Dominic Smith. Despite that, and losing some key players, they were also able to add Justin Verlander, Kodai Senga, Jose Quintana, Omar Narvaez, and David Robinson to reinforce their already great team. So you be the judge. Was the 2022 Mets offseason a success or a failure? Let us know down in the comments. The front office did what they had to do to make the team even better than before. So much so that the 2023 Mets had the highest payroll in Major League history at $353 million. Starting the season, ESPN actually had the New York Mets ranked as number 4 on the power ranking for the upcoming season. It looked like the Mets were a lock to make another postseason push. That's before things started to go south for them. After striking out the side in the bottom of the 9th to secure Puerto Rico's win over the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic, Edwin Diaz tragically tore his patellar tendon during the team's celebration.
In a wheelchair to assist him. That was his brother crying.
This would sideline Diaz for the entire 2023 season, leaving the Mets without their superstar closer. This freak accident had fans devastated due to Edwin's huge impact on the team in 2022. This would not be the only loss for the Mets to begin the season. Just hours before the season opener, the Mets placed Justin Verlander on the IL after suffering a low-grade teres major strain. Jose Quintana and Carlos Carrasco also landed on the IL to start the season. 3 out of the 5 Mets pitchers in their starting rotation would miss the beginning of the year. With the injuries to the rotation, the 2023 season was definitely not off to a great start. This negativity carried on into the season as many players began to underperform. The team was not clicking like it did in 2022 as they failed to get into a winning groove. Essentially, every statistical category is down from the previous season, and this doesn't even conclude some of the role players that also underperformed. But on May 19th, they had a huge momentum-shifting win against the Guardians, where Pete Alonso, well, he did this.
Consecutive games coming into tonight. And Pete flies one to right field. Back goes Brennan to the warning track at the wall. It's out of here! A game-tying grand slam from Pete Alonso!
Struts to the righty batter's box.
And a ground ball toward the home base hit! Around third Escobar! He hits for the plate! The throw by Quan goes to the backstop! The game is tied!
On the line, first pitch.
Nimmo runs in his line! Base hit! And the Mets win it! Lindor against Cleveland!
But, unfortunately, not even a win like this could get them rolling and get them hot. More injuries would continue to plague the Mets, with Sterling Marte suffering multiple injuries, causing him to only play 86 games that season. These injuries, as long as some others, contributed to the Mets calling up top prospects Francisco Alvarez, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, and Ronnie Mauricio to switch things up. This, unfortunately, was not able to be a quick fix, as the young and inexperienced players were not ideal for a win-now situation. The first half of the season was not pretty for the New York Mets. Loss after loss, meltdown after meltdown, the team found themselves with a record of 50-55 at the trade deadline. This pushed Billy Epler and the New York Mets as sellers at the trade deadline, ultimately waving the white flag on the season. The Mets traded Max Scherzer to the Texas Rangers for Luis Angel Acuna, younger brother of Ronald Acuna Jr. Justin Verlander was also traded back to the Houston Astros for outfield prospects Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford. David Robertson, Mark Canha, Tommy Pham, and Dominic Leone were also traded at the deadline for some other minor prospects. Although their playoff hopes were officially dead, the Mets were able to completely restock their farm system to improve their future after this deadline. A mixture of injuries and players underperforming caused the team to significantly regress. Pete Alonso's batting average dropped from .271 to just .217. Jeff McNeil's average went from .326 to .270, and Sterling Marte from .292 to just .248. Max Scherzer's ERA also shot up to .401 during his time with the Mets after having just a .229 ERA in the previous season. They just simply were not getting the same production from their players as they did in the year before. It seemed like their misfortunes from the late 2022 carried over to the entire 2023 season. The Mets went on to end their season with a 75-87 record, 26 less wins than the previous year, finishing 4th in the NL East. With a new president of baseball operations in David Stearns and a revamped farm system, the New York Mets have the potential to be great for years to come. Currently, the 2024 Mets have constructed a competitive roster in what is said to be a punt year for the franchise. The team hopes many of their star players once again play up to the potential as they did in 2022. With additions such as JD Martinez and Luis Severino, will the New York Mets have what it takes to make an unlikely playoff push? Or will it be a gap year for what is to come in 2025?